Hi everyone, Lisa Haven here, and have I got an urgent report for you, specifically in regards to the governments all across the world warning people of a coming disaster and that they need to prepare for the worst. Now, they're not the only ones who have been preparing. We know for quite some time the globalists and the elite and Rothschild and Kissinger's and all of those lovely people have been preparing for chaos and storing up food for quite some time. But things are truly starting to get hairy when governments are warning their people. It means things could be hitting the fan a lot sooner than we'd like to realize. Now, what are they encouraging us to prepare for? Well, that is the question, isn't it? In the information I'm about to show you, I'm going to display how Russia, Germany, here in America, all these countries have sent warnings to their citizens. Not only that, but some shocking information from Daigle that I have brought up in numerous reports before, but very good time to bring it back up, and a memorandum, the Kissinger report, as it's known, that I think we need to go back and touch on. All that and more, and you're not going to want to miss it in this report because we could be looking at some pretty serious food wars. So hang in there. Here we go. All right, so our first stop here is on Infowars.com, and the headline reads, "Preparing for War. Russian citizens stocking up on essential supplies. Moscow residents are buying matches and salt as fears of NATO conflict accelerate." Now, we all know that there is a lot of tension right now in Russia, tension with NATO, tension with America, tension with Ukraine, Syria, and ISIS, obviously. So nonetheless, the population there is already on edge. But it is very crucial to know that many citizens know that something is going to happen. Something's going on, and they're in the midst of that. And as a result, it's not only salt and matches that they're stocking up on, but food as well. And very recent report put out by Paul Joseph Watson. But let's move on from Russia. How about Germany? Most recently, and this is on Reuters.com, Germany, to tell people to stockpile food and water in case of attacks. This happened this month, just a few days ago. And the German government plans to tell them to, hey, get ready for attacks or catastrophe. Maybe there could be more Islamic terrorism, more terrorism in the country. But nonetheless, here's a country kind of last minute, might I add, telling their citizens to prepare. And here's the thing, countries often will not tell you until the very last minute, if at all, that something's going to happen. Remember, we had no warning in 2007, 2008, when it all hit the fan here in America. I can guarantee you that no warning came until after the crisis had already hit. And that's what they do. Why do they wait until after the crisis hit? Depopulation and population control, and I'm going to prove it to you in just a moment. But let's go back just a little bit. Here, Barack Obama, it's not just Germany, it's not just Russia, but here in America, we have been warned to prepare for disaster. I know that Obama on May 31st took a moment out of his busy schedule to talk to the FEMA National Response Coordination Center. Let's go to whitehouse.gov right here for his actual dialogue on that. And here's the remarks by Obama on, quote, hurricane preparedness. Now, this report doesn't just address hurricanes only, but all of it, any kind of extreme event. But here he encourages and says, look, it's every citizen's responsibility to prepare for disaster. Our responsibility, not the government's responsibility, yours, mine, our own. And that means taking proactive steps like having an evacuation plan, having a fully stocked disaster supply kit. These are not entertained ideas. These are ideas being pushed by the White House. And he even says, don't wait, do it now. People often don't prepare, but nonetheless, there is always loss of life when these things do happen. That is why I partner with foodforliberty.com/Haven. I honestly believe in food preparation. I think everyone should have food stored now. not tomorrow, not yesterday, 5-10 years ago, best time to store, but now. And like I said, I don't wait or delay. I'm going to leave a link below for that. So make sure if you're not prepared, you get prepared. But moving on, he also goes in this particular document, he warns of severe weather and no matter the disaster, meaning it could be anything, but nonetheless, prepare, 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 which it's rare that our governments actually do tell you to prepare, but nonetheless, here is a warning that we have gotten. But here's what I kind of want to tie all that into. Why is everything I just told you important that governments are preparing? And they're not the only ones. I've done maybe 3 or 4 different reports on globalists preparing, building shelters, storing up food, the Rothschilds of the world, the Kissingers of the world, all preparing and storing up food. I can also show you governments housing seed vaults. Google governments, seed vaults. You'll get a ton of information as well. But here just recently, June of 2016, this is on Infowars.com. Globalists intend to use food as a weapon to take over the world or in world takeover. Social unrest will occur when food shortages begin, providing an excuse for martial law, which I've already said they're not going to call it martial law when they do initiate it. It's not going to be all across the country, but it will be city by city or certain cities, and certain cities won't and certain cities will. Nonetheless, this video here is absolutely amazing. I encourage you to watch it. But here's the thing. We know that food has been used as a weapon in histories past. For all you history buffs out there, if you remember, Romans, the Egyptians, the Babylonians, and even the ancient Chinese all used food as a weapon. Google those countries and food as a weapon. You'll have a ton of information. I was going to get into that, but it might take a while. But nonetheless, it's obviously something that has happened in history's past and can happen again. Though this time, they're going to do it under the pretense of population control. They want to control the population, which brings me, scrolling through this here, to the National Security Study Memorandum, NSSM 200, Implications of Worldwide Population Growth for the U.S. Security and Overseas Interest, also known as the famous Kissinger Report. Now, some of you obviously have heard about this. I have heard about this, but I'm bringing it back up because it cannot be ignored, especially in light of everything that is happening right now. Everybody is stocking up and preparing. Now, this was put out December 10th in 1974, and obviously not declassified until quite a few years later, as you can see here. But this report, to put it in a nutshell, it promotes the idea of using war. Sound familiar to what's happening with the Middle East and with Russia? War as a population control to limit population, sterilization to limit population, famine to limit population. All of these ideas are entertained in this particular report. And obviously birth control as well. But you can see, all the things specifically regarding population and the food supply. Population and in these sections here, sorry, it scrolled, but World Population Conference, implications of population, and all of these minerals. But this does get into detail about the quote population problem, which is just a lie. But let me just show you a few things here. I don't want to get too much into it, but here on page 4 is where they kind of talk about war and how war has caused the countries to go down in population number. Why would war? Obviously we know why war would do that, but the reason that they're putting it on here, because they say if it wasn't for these wars, we would have a lot higher population than we do now. That's kind of this entire section in a nutshell. This is, fast forward to page 52 here. And here in this section, it says, in many low-income countries, mortality has declined markedly since World War II. from disease, illness, and famine. But they said fertility has remained high and they don't want high fertility. That is why they are putting fluoride in the water, chemtrails in our skies, GMOs. We're being bombarded. Here's another one. The Nigeria Civil War seriously retarded the progress of Africa's most populous nations and caused political repercussions and pressures in the U.S. Now, look, this goes on. It talks about Pakistan, India war, and, or the conflict or whatever, but there's all of these things talk about the implications of war and how they decrease population. Here's another section, Bangladesh. This is on page 62, scroll page. With the appalling population density, rapid growth, and extensive poverty will suffer even more. Its population has increased 40% since the census 13 years ago and is growing 3% a year. The present 75 million or so, unless it is slowed by famine, disease, or massive birth control, will double in 23 years. So let's entertain the idea of using food as a weapon of depopulation, disease, and massive birth control. This memorandum is crucial. If you have not read it, please do so. Last thing I want to show you here is on scroll page 83. And here where, our government is saying, hey, let's ask these particular kinds of questions. The following questions need to be addressed. What are some of those questions? Well, let's focus on this one. On what basis should such food resources then be provided? Would food be considered an instrument of national power? Will food be forced to make choices as to whom we can reasonably assist? And if so, should population efforts be a criterion for such assistance? Is the U.S. prepared to accept food rationing to help people who can and won't control their population growth? Should the U.S. seek to change its food consumption patterns toward more efficient uses of protein? Are mandatory population control measures appropriate for the United States and other countries? Yes, that is your U.S. government asking the questions. Again, this is why now is the time to prepare. Now is the time to get ready. Store up food. I'm going to leave a link below. Look, if you don't use Food for Liberty, use somebody. Pack your own. Mylar bags, great. Oxygen suckers, awesome. But get ready. These questions, I can rest assured and will prove, are being addressed by our government. Now, I also put a report out, last year on this Daigle.com, but now is a good time to bring it back up. Here we have Daigle.com, and they say the year is 2015. There is a population of 321 million people here in America. Well, what they do is they forecasted 10 years into the future. And what do you see now? 61 million people. How did we go from 321 million to 61 million people in America? And most countries, this isn't just in America, folks, they show the statistics worldwide lowered. But why are we missing some 200 some odd million people? Well, could it be because of economic crisis, food failures, food war, famine? Absolutely. And that is what Daigle has admitted to. They say, look, we know, that America is severely lowered, and here's why. And that's because of our economic crisis and our food failures or our food wars that could be coming in the future. And let's not forget on motherboard.vice.com earlier this year, this came out. FEMA contractor predicts social unrest caused by 395% food hikes. Now, this was done via a simulated event. It's called the game. It's Food Chain Reaction. And what they did is they basically said, hey, we're going to pretend like there's a food crisis all across the world. And here is what can play out in this food crisis. Let me just show you a clip from this game simulation of people trying to say what would happen in the event of a global food crisis. Let me show you that.
There are significant risks as we look at the problems we face with regard to food security, especially going forward.
Food chain reaction is an effort to put some of the major actors on this planet who have to deal with a global food crisis.
Food chain reaction was really to create these scenarios based on scenarios that have happened in the past, but how do countries respond to them?
We had 8 teams. We had 4 rounds spanning from 2020 to 2030.
Our real hope was that we would get really great participants in the room, which we did, players from all around the world to elevate a more global conversation among all of those different worldwide experts.
The game itself created an opportunity to live into the future. It caused people to think through what the possibilities are. And in that process, I think they realized what they have to start to do today to prepare for that future.
We began the decade in 2020. Food prices in 2020 and 2021 are climbing.
The world in 2020 is a world with increasing pressures from urbanization. It's a world where it's getting hotter and it's getting drier. We're also seeing increased social unrest because of the volatility in the food system. All of those factors coming together, creating that perfect storm.
So there you have it. I have kind of thrown a lot at you all at once. Now, some of you may have seen some of that information, some of you might not have. But nonetheless, in light of all these countries preparing, in light of the globalists stocking up and storing up food, and people saying, prepare for disaster, that's a red sign that we need to be ready. That Daigle has lowered our numbers, that we have the memorandum that's telling us we need to control our population, and here's how we can do it. And I can guarantee you an economic crisis, a civil war, a war, World War III, all of this can play into the hands of what the globalists desire to do. It's not a game. It is legit and it's real. And my heart is this. My heart is that you prepare. It's not a sales pitch. Use someone. Like I said, they are my partner. They help support what I do as far as foodforliberty.com/Haven is concerned. But there's lots of things out there you can do. You can store it yourself. You can pack it up. You can, and make sure it's not just food. You want to store medical supply, health supply, make sure that you're getting the proper nutrients during those events, because look, when it hits the fan, we need more healthy patriots than anything, because we are the ones that are going to be standing against the tyranny, the corruption at that time. We are the ones that are going to be standing against martial law style events. We are the ones that are going to be putting our roots in the ground and rising to the forefront and being there for our country, our freedoms, and our right. And my goal is to keep you as healthy as you can be, and to make sure that all you listeners out there are avidly prepared. Please do so. If not, foodforliberty.com/Haven, use someone. And here's the thing too, I'm using all documents, governmental documents, website information that are linked to all of that. Look, the information for these population controls are out there and in your face, not to mention the Georgia Guidestones where they write it out in the open for everyone. It's not something that we should treat as a game. It's the real deal. And I want to just say, look, I love every single one of you out there, and I'm so blessed by everyone who watches my YouTube channel. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I care about each and every single one of you, and without you guys, we would be a silent force. And the more that you guys are out there sharing truth, the more that you guys are creating your own YouTube videos, sharing YouTube videos like mine and others, and getting the information out there, the more that we work together. It's not just one person, it's all of us as a unit. So you guys are my partners as well, and all of us are one unified group working for the freedoms here in America. And I just want to say thank you to all of you guys out there. And thank you for watching my channel. Without you guys, I wouldn't be no voice. But anyhow, thanks again for tuning in, and please make sure you check out my partners in the link below. And again, thank you guys. And again, just be prepared and be ready, because My heart is truly with each and every single one of you. Thanks again for tuning in. This is Lisa Haven, signing off.